Hello, 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 hello. Can everybody hear me? Hello. Getting started. There we go. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 7. Right. How is everyone tonight? This is obviously for the listeners, not everybody that's currently here live. How's everybody doing? It's been one whole week since you got a little bit of Captain Jack, and he's back for you. Let me see if I move this a little bit closer here. Bam, and I'll even give you guys a eye patch. There you go. Anyways, how's it going, everybody? We're going to be talking about conspiracy theories today. Your favorites, my favorites, and ones that Wikipedia gives us, because after a while I'll probably exhaust my knowledge on conspiracy theories. So, we could talk about a lot of them. There's a lot of mild conspiracy theories, and then there's like some incredibly insane ones. Like one of my favorite ones to hear about is people say it all the time is chemtrails, and the government's using jets to spread chemicals over the airwaves not the airwaves, but over the air. Boom, you've got some sort of cancer now. Now it's like, yeah, or it's some sort of mind control drug, or it does something or another to your body because they're dropping it out above our heads. But there's so many, like, at the height that they're flying, the winds and all that other shit, there's just too much wind, it's too cold, that's why it's particleized, and it would just get whipped somewhere else eventually. Shit doesn't fall just, like, straight down when it's that light. I don't know, that's very easy stuff to debunk, Then we've got really crazy shit like Epstein Island. It's like, what was really going on Epstein Island? Fucking people, fucking kids. Did he have a list of people that were doing fucking awful shit, or was it just a manifest, or what the fuck was it? Did he actually kill himself, or did Hillary Clinton send her goons, or was it anybody else? So we're going to be probably tackling, a wide variety of these throughout the entire evening. I'm excited to see what everybody's got to say and what everybody's favorite conspiracy theories are. One of the ones that I think kind of bugs me, I think more than the rest of them, is probably like the we didn't land on the moon one. Like, it's why? There's just so much evidence. There's just so much. And you can just go look at it. And then, NASA's faking it because we wanted to get ahead of Russia during the Cold War. But it's like, the space race and shit. But it was like, wait a minute. Wouldn't Russia be like the first people to be like, aha, we have proved that you guys didn't actually go to the moon? Like, wouldn't they be the ones more motivated than anybody else to just like say that, so that we lost the space race instead, or we didn't win at all? Like, I don't know. There's just so.
There was an alien base on the moon. That's why we didn't go back.
There's an alien base there. That makes sense.
Is that your eye patch?
You like it?
I love it.
Yeah, no, this is it's a makeshift one until I actually order the eye patch there.
Nice. But yes, my name's Michael, and I once worked for NASA, and the reason why we have never gone back to the moon is because we found a base on the other side of the moon, and the aliens put it there. And I too have saw many aliens fly by my ranch and do things and probe me. And
they probed you. Oh, whoa! They probed you?
Yeah, they probe me. They do stuff to my penis.
Do you have any like, if they probed you, do you have any evidence of
well,
maybe anal damage, or like
I can't really show you over the air, but I have a big gaping asshole from all of this probing.
Right, and so are you sure it's from the probing?
Well, it's either that or from butt stuff. But
my guess, Michael, if I were to be so bold, would be that it was butt stuff. But
I see.
But I appreciate that you were conspiring about why your butthole may have been, at least you're skeptical about why.
In
Give it a
India,
shot.
we'd have had many of these sightings. And they fly over top, do the stuff, and
Jesus.
people call them stars. They're
What's
kind of
going
like,
on with Colin there, Scott? Something happening?
yeah, what's going on, Scott?
Yeah, Scott says what the
Scott
the
probably
music.
thought,
It says there's 13 listeners, but when I call in, it says we're waiting for callers.
oh,
It says there's 14 listeners right now, but when I look down, there's no.
oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh no, hold on a second, hold on a second. That's because you two are in here plus 12.
Yeah, but I don't see anybody like
Oh,
normally like below speakers you see listeners. I don't
It
yeah,
says
see anybody.
listeners plus 12
Scott,
for
I
some
think
reason. Oh yeah.
I think those are all listeners without accounts so far.
Ah,
I
Oh,
just
that
think
makes
they're not.
sense.
Yeah.
well, the
Well, and
thing that's
if you
really
are just
interesting.
listening, make an account so that you
Oh,
can
for
have a
sure.
sweet ass avatar.
Most
Well, the thing
definitely
that I
make it
find
count.
interesting is just how much KY jelly aliens actually have. I mean, it's like they've got the market cornered.
Well, they didn't bring it for me.
So,
They only believed in sawdust.
whoa, fantastic. Was it so? Travis, do you have a conspiracy theory that's like particularly interesting to you, or
Well, when
one
I
that
was
bothers you
20,
maybe a little bit?
when I was 20, and it was around June, I think, when I was 20, I became intrigued by the alien conspiracy theories that the government is hiding alien bodies and vehicles. And for a few months, I was convinced by Stephen Greer's disclosure project that was done at the National Press Club. You can still find it on YouTube, but yeah, I was convinced at that point, and I was 20 years old. And what the problem was is in my current understanding of logic, I didn't understand how fallacious it was to take all of these highly credentialed individuals that were making these fantastical claims. I was just kind of taking those to mean like, well, I mean, it probably happened if they said it happened. I mean, they have such high credentials. But of course, like when we put this into argumentation, this is a fallacious way of thinking. So, you know, I for a few months I fell into that trap, but I was studying logic and philosophy at the same time, and I came to realize through reading and study that this was this was fallacious. This wasn't
And
good reasoning.
right, and so to tickle the people that would may have, and to tickle people that may have the question, like, well, what about when like Marines or Air Force people come together and they say that they saw a ship that their equipment detected flying at 50 million miles an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, was it when you hear that, it's just like, well, they saw it and they were like, their instruments said it and they watched it, they were there. How do you
Yeah.
how do you how do you take that? What would
Well,
you respond?
well, the interesting thing is people they're like they captured it on radar. You understand that you can fake radar, right? You can not only fake radar in the aircraft, you can trick radar. It's not like this. People are like, wow, radar. It's like
Well,
if they have the radar, that means it's there. But
and you don't even have to trick it because you can come up with false readings, and then like those false
exactly.
readings, if you just assume they're real, right?
Yeah. So and I do think it's interesting when these pilots do bring this information out. I think they often come with a hardcore presupposition of what this thing is. Like they'll make claims like, "Oh, well, we don't have technology like that." It's like they would know. They're like, "Oh yeah, well they're a military pilot. Of course they would know." No, not necessarily. Like they're not in the like top secret.
Yeah, it's not axiomatic that just because they're flying around all the time that they're up on the cutting edge of whatever flying technology is.
No, yeah, like you have to imagine with some of these guys. Of course, there's pilots that they worked with, like, oh, fucking John's over there being fucking kooky again,
Right? Yeah, exactly.
You're never gonna hear from those people, though.
No.
How's it going, Brett?
And people always say like, and this is something that what's that fucking guy's name? Bob Lazar, who's a legitimate genius, but is either a liar or was easily tricked by someone he was working for. Like Bob Lazar might have been working on something, and then someone told him it was like a gravity amplifier, and they just had him like spinning his tires or whatever. Like I don't know what happened.
Hold on. Travis,
Yeah.
just for the sake of the show, you don't think that
We
there's
lost you, Jack.
any
Oh, might have been me.
chance
Oh.
at all? Are you there?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. You don't think there's any chance at all that, like, on the very, like, just the most off cuff, that Bob Lazar actually did work on a gravity?
Jack,
amplifier?
I reject all dogmas. Of course, it's possible that Bob Lazar is telling me absolute truth and everything is accurate. But I think it's very, very highly unlikely that many of the
Okay,
claims
so
he makes are
I have a
true at
hard
all.
time.
Yeah.
I only have a hard time with him not being accurate with it, because Bob Lazar once saw a robotic raptor jump into the air and
What?
and cut open an oil can.
I haven't seen this.
Like it was spaghetti.
Robotic raptor? Robotic.
Yes.
I got to look this up. Raptor.
Yeah, he says it on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh my God. I came to Bob Lazar like when he first came out and he was like, yeah, I'm just doing this so that if they kill me, people
But
will
he's
know the
seen
answer.
the robot
But the-
raptor, Travis.
Well, that's what he thinks. I think he truly believes he's seen a lot of things, but there are some reasonable explanations for people who see and imagine and get confused between reality. But I don't think we should say that means he's not genius at all in aspects of rocketry and propulsion and things like that, because he does. He has some successful businesses in those fields, and he knows what he's talking about with regards to the basics of chemical engineering and things like that. The whole element 115 thing, though, was kind of a shyster's play, because everyone knew that element 115 would be discovered. It was like the next element to be discovered, and I mean, it wasn't a shock to anyone that we have element 115.
Oh, fair enough. Was it Scott?
Yes, sir.
What is one of your favorite or most bothering conspiracy theories? Either one that you enjoy a lot or one that actually kind of irks you a little bit.
Well, the ones that kind of irk me are ones that sort of play into what's really happening in the real world, right? So like the conspiracy theory of like the election was stolen from Trump. Like I think these things have real world implications, and there's like true problems to them. People thinking that the moon landing wasn't real, I just find that sort of interesting. It's a bit comical, like how far somebody's going to go to try and I don't know delve down that rabbit hole. But
yeah, you see, Scott, we tried to land there, and we quickly doubled back because we saw that there was a base on the backside of the moon, and and that's why we never returned.
The ones that truly bother me though is like ones that like people take action off of, right?
Oh yeah.
So like the Jews are coming after all your money, and like
how about
like,
rigged election?
Like, yeah, dude, like all that kind of shit's like holy moly, like we got to get a grip, guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Hitler was engaging in conspiratorial line drawing.
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
it was a full-on big fat conspiracy theory believed by the masses.
Yep.
Like that there's something about the Jewish race that drives them to be whatever way they imagined they all are. Yep. Like this is the same kind of crap conspiracy theories that you hear from the race realists typically about black people. Well, they'll be like, well, I mean, there seems to be something ingrained in black people that forces them to commit crime.
Good old Robin.
Yeah, good old Robin, who used to be in our Discord server. Yeah. I think he got annihilated in a few discussions back and forth, and then he became bitter about that, and then he started just attacking people. Maybe he'll come back one day.
One second, guys.
For the most part, I find a lot of conspiracies just like funny and interesting. I don't give too
Flat
much
Earth
to it.
We got Flat Earth. We got what else? We got. I mean, the government hiding
Flat
shit.
Earth is actually no. Flat Earth is hard. You know why Flat Earth is hard? Like, you can have all of the proofs, right? Like the easy proofs for it, but then they come at you with this entire model, like with this insane math that you have to like go through, and like it becomes it's a very easy thing to understand that it's not flat, but it's a very hard thing in the convincing of someone else that it.
I think insane math was the exact appropriate way to describe that.
That's exactly why
insane
I did it. That's exactly
math.
why I said that way. It's literally insanity. But the thing is that like they're like, you have to just prove that it's not like this, and it's like, no, you have to prove that it is like that,
right?
And it just ends up, and they have a very hard time with it. It's been proven, I don't know how many goddamn times, like just like from thousands of years ago to now,
Yes.
when we literally have satellites that's like
No.
have to orbit the planet.
Dude, well, we knew the Earth was round with sundials, right?
That's what I said. Like thousands of years ago, they had it figured out.
Like we knew this was the case.
but sundials. It's fine. Oh,
Jack.
Vlad's calling in. Boom.
Yeah.
What's up, Vlad? How you doing today? Fantastic.
I hope everybody.
You better not start talking about
the conspiracy theory that troubles me is the one Canadians do not want to accept, that Justin Trudeau is the bastard child of Fidel Castro. That is what troubling. I wonder why Canadians cannot accept that you have baby Fidel in power. The man looks nothing like Pierre Trudeau. Please accept that you have baby Fidel in power.
Okay, we'll settle this right now.
Yeah.
We'll settle this right now. I'm pulling up a picture.
Okay.
Fidel Castro.
Okay.
And then I'm going to pull up a picture of Justin Trudeau.
Okay.
And we'll make this official. Okay, Justin Trudeau.
In fact,
this actually has some credibility.
So like think about this though, Vlad. Like imagine if Trudeau really was Fidel Castro's son, though, right? Does that make him Fidel Castro? Are you gonna punish a son for the sins of his father?
Exactly.
No. I think what Vlad's trying to do is see the sins of the father and then like see the sins of the son and be like,
No, I just want clarity. Otherwise I'd be in violation of my own. I'd be in violation of my own Christian tenet. No, I wouldn't visit it upon him. But at least we would know why he's such a leftist. Just like his father, the communist, for crying out loud.
I mean, that's not genetic. Come on.
So that would explain a lot.
Well, I'm looking at it.
I don't know, the ideology.
I'm looking at it right now.
No, it's definitely not genetic. There's no fucking way.
Dude,
I'm looking at
the craziest thing, though. Have you ever looked at how much Trump looks like Hitler? It's weird, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you really got to look into these things.
Yeah, you really do.
He said
Exactly. He looks like a dead ringer.
Right now, Vlad, I think it's inconclusive.
Travis is an expert photographer and ability to recognize faces through photography. So if he can't see it, then it's very inconclusive.
It is funny though, because I will admit that in some photos they do have some similarities.
And they
now, I don't want people to. Well, no, don't say. See, if you go to extreme to say like, "Oh, come on, it's obvious," then obviously you're just drinking the Kool-Aid. If you look at this, it's like, yeah, their noses are kind of similar.
Ooh, are the noses like? Are they hook shaped?
Only on some angles, though. That's the thing. Only in some angles, because there are pictures of Castro where his nose is very flat in some, but some angles, but this is the thing that we need to talk about, because conspiracy theorists, conspiratorial line drawing is all about scanning through hundreds of photos to find the one that best suits the narrative that you already believe.
Yes.
And then you're going to put it up against the one that most looks like Justin Trudeau, and then you're gonna be like, "See, I solved it," and you're totally disregarding the hundreds of other photos that look nothing like Justin
Me too.
Trudeau.
I
I'm looking at
second
one
that.
right now
I
where
second that.
it literally, he's got a flat nose. His face could be, it couldn't be more different than just, but
Oh,
there's a very
man.
famous photo
That's gonna be a
that
hard
people
one to
always
tell.
look at in sight, where he's kind of making a bit of an unnatural face.
That's gonna
and
be
it
a very
does
hard
look
one to
like
sell.
Justin Trudeau.
I'll just leave you at that because I'm driving,
board
guys.
for the,
seen
I'm
it.
on
But
board
I
for
just-
the Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son train. I'm with that one.
Well, I've seen a picture. Of
Oh, that one.
I swore
Yeah, and he didn't even lose the
single
elections
taxes.
because of that. Well, whatever happened to cultural appropriation? Isn't that what the leftists always use?
I
Oh,
saw-
he's
I saw
culturally
one where
appropriate.
Mother-
Have you ever heard of
fucker.
cultural appreciation? Maybe he actually meant it. Doesn't mean he's a racist. Maybe he wishes he was born black. I don't know. He has a
Vlad, you know what picture
fixation.
I'm talking about? Have
You
you ever
got it.
seen that one where
Go ahead.
Justin Trudeau's in blackface, dressed up as like Aladdin or some shit?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree that wearing blackface doesn't make you a racist. I agree with that.
Wearing blackface doesn't make you. One
Guys,
second.
Guys,
No,
all I want to
yeah, of
hear is
course
from
it doesn't.
Justin to say, you know what, guys? I gotta come out of the closet.
Also,
I'm
definitely
Fidel's
depends
son.
on like how long.
Pierre
ago it
Trudeau
was.
has
Like,
been
if
a
you wore
great father,
blackface in
but I'm
the,
really
like,
Fidel's son.
70s
I'm
and
his
80s.
best.
You know, that was like a pretty normal.
You know, that's all. I want clarity.
Common
I want
party
honesty
trick.
from this man.
Yeah, like you know, kids
Hearing
Halloween
common
costumes in the
party trick
80s.
sounds a little weird.
That's it. He'll put this conspiracy to rest. The truth will come out. He'll recognize who he is, and that's that. You know, that's all. At least we know that part of Fidel
Why do you
lives.
want that to be the case, Vlad? Yeah, but why do you, no, you don't. You don't want clarity. You just admitted that you want your
That's
ideal
kind of why.
narrative
That's
to be
kind of why
true.
I was like. That's why kind of why I was squinting like that. North. That's why I was like, I don't know about. So I'm gonna move on to let's go. Brett, are you available right now?
Dude, Brett is going to be the man to go to about it because
Brett, are you
get into
available?
your,
Or are you still?
Oh, Brett. Yeah, Brett's got to get into cryptids here.
yeah, cryptids. Yep.
I gotta wait till he's done eating. I think he said he was eating dinner.
Ah.
Good to go.
Chilling, eating dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he gets back, I can't wait to hear
What
about. I read a book about cryptids when I was a kid, and it made me really like for a really long time. I was like, and I'm still even there's still even a slight bit like maybe there's a dinosaur in the Congo.
What about faked deaths? There's a lot of fake death conspiracies, like Elvis Presley still living, and
I mean, wouldn't he be like at the like even if he still was like alive, wouldn't he be like almost dead already?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Elvis. Like, you don't hear about it anymore because he would be like 100 something.
Yeah. So what about Tupac?
Just like, yeah, I know Tupac and Biggie, like they're the new Elvis.
Dude,
I mean, what about Michael Jackson?
Tupac's
Like,
balling in Cuba, dude. Didn't you know?
it would be tough for Michael Jackson to hide, right?
Dude, Michael,
Unless he got
would
some
have to
more
go
surgery.
through. I mean, not that he wouldn't be kind of used to it, but he'd have to go through like severe reconstruction surgery to not be noticed.
Fuck.
Well, I mean, like, what the fuck?
Or maybe
what do you
they'll
want
peel it.
from me?
Or maybe they'll peel it all off, and he'll go back to his natural state.
Dude,
Yeah.
or Michael Jackson just starts wearing blackface, you know, and like nobody recognizes.
Yeah, exactly. No, and then the
Or maybe he just goes
woke mob will come
to
after
his
him,
original
man.
lizard state.
But I
Maybe
encourage
Michael
I
Jackson goes back to his
encourage
original
people to call in.
lizard state.
I encourage people to call in and share conspiracy theories that they believe in or think may not be actual conspiracy theories and just be the truth.
Jack,
And speak about them, and we can talk about them. I mean, like I said, like maybe we'll agree. Like with Vlad, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm kind of 50-50 on board with the Justin Trudeau thing.
Right
I'm
there,
not
brother.
gonna lie. I kind of am. I'm
Right
kind
there.
of on
That's what
board
I'm
with it.
telling you.
There's
Right.
no. It makes a lot of sense, and you can't prove it's not yet. So that's fine. I'm on board.
Exactly.
well, the burden of
It's
proof,
open for
you guys,
investigation.
we have to
I'm
understand.
not. I'm not gonna go and prick him for his DNA or whatever. But I would say maybe let's make a hashtag Justin Trudeau 23andMe.
Yeah, but we know. But don't you think that we have the? Don't you think we have the evidence that he is of his father's blood? Don't you think he has that evidence?
I mean, I would love. I can prove it's not real. How, North, no, how? If actually North says he's got the proof.
He's got a vial.
Another thing
got
too,
a
guys.
vial of Trudeau's cum. How he came.
I know.
about
North
that-
always said that.
And North says
Exactly.
he can prove it's not real.
And another thing, what was his parents doing in the Cuban island in the '60s, around the time that Trudeau was born, I think. Were they to
Smoking
bring to
cigars.
Fidel, recently
He
in
was
power?
down
Were they
there.
to bring the child to him? Here, this is your child.
Vlad. He was down there smoking cigars and drinking rum, just like any other
Exactly.
fucking normal human being.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Enjoying the fucking fruits of Cuba's fucking economy.
Long live Cuban cigars! Long live Cuban cigars!
Look, I'm in on it. If it's not true, it's not true. But if it is true, I think that'd be pretty great. So,
why would that be great though? I still don't understand.
I think it would just be fucking funny.
Oh, it would be. I would get. I can see why it would be funny, but I keep hearing people say like,
"Well, great is a substitute for funny." Like it's so funny, it would be great.
Oh, okay.
All right, another conspiracy theory, guys. Let's get away from the Trudeau one. Obviously, I'm going to be wrong, right? It's a conspiracy theory. What about Elvis is still alive? Elvis is still alive. What happened to that one?
We just talked about Elvis would be like 120. No.
Oh shit! That old? Damn.
Yeah.
Only for dying in the 70s.
He was born in
Elvis was born
1935.
January 8th, 1935.
I think Vlad has conflicting evidence. He said the 60s. So
No. Elvis was born in 1935.
no, I'm talking about Trudeau. Trudeau was born in 71. The Trudeaus did not visit Cuba until 76. I think the Vlad said they visited.
Oh, okay, my bad. But I got fooled by the black and white photo. My bad. Sorry, my bad.
There you go.
Yeah, the black and white photo killed us.
That has been defeated.
Vlad. It's all about race.
Jack easily could be alive. Are you? What are you talking about? Elvis.
Elvis is still alive, ladies and gentlemen. Elvis has left the building.
Hold on a second, Brett. Alive is like he could be living, but alive.
You guys, he would be 87.
Or alive. My bad. He'd be alive, but is he living?
And he's rich beyond what you can imagine. He'd be 87 with the best healthcare the world has to offer. I would say he would, probably still be alive.
Was it with Tupac could certainly be alive.
Yeah, that'd be cool. They're all living together in the same island.
Was it Brett? Was it they since you're here in chat, I'd like you to get on the on things because I heard that you believe in cryptids. That would technically be a conspiracy.
I do have.
So I would love to hear about your belief in cryptids there.
I do have the best conspiracy of all time, though, right?
All right, we're gonna let you finish up there, Scott. Then Brett's gonna get in there.
Yeah, just real quick. Somebody was born to a virgin woman who is the son of God. Greatest conspiracy of all time.
Oh no, that's a pretty good one. I don't fucking think so. I would go ahead and say that's not fucking likely, and that's a pretty lame conspiracy.
But it's convinced more people than any other conspiracy that you can possibly imagine.
No, I'm aware. It's really good. It's good in the convincing part. It's like a disease that can't necessarily kill you, but it spreads well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Brett, get up in there. Hey, Brett's on camera. Thank you for joining me.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Fantastic. So technically, I've heard you believe in cryptids. Cryptids are technically a conspiracy.
I wouldn't say I believe in all cryptids. The amount of research I've done, and Trav and I had a talk about this a while ago on Sasquatch and like potential like hominid ancestors that are still alive. I've never said, and I will never say unless I were to see one for myself, that I 100% believe they exist. I do believe that the amount of evidence I've gone through, it's not as easy as dismissing as the other ones. But yeah, I don't claim to know. You know what I mean? It's just been a hobby that I've been into for a long time.
Which ones do you think have the most convincing evidence without claiming to know that they're for sure? Which ones do you think have that?
Definitely. Well, they obviously took the giant squid off of the list with, the specimens they've seen over the last 100 years that whaling ships have brought up. And that, to be fair, was never really a conspiracy. We just hadn't really,
Right, we never really figured out that they were there.
Yeah, and having specimens and the fact that the ocean's only 15% explored, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that one I don't think would be on the list. I think the case I just make for, a cryptid of a hominid, I don't know whether you would say ancestor or part ape, whatever it might be, is just that when you put down a couple of what would you say, geological events that would have had to occur for a potential species to be alive, it's not impossible. Now, it could be very improbable, and as Trav pointed out the last time we talked, he's known many people who have been on search and rescue teams in Canada and how much, airspace and land that they've covered, to where he doesn't think it's very probable. But yeah, to me, when you read that story, it's not as impossible as, say, Mothman or the Chupacabra or Jersey Devil, even Loch Ness, which Loch Ness is the evidence is actually very, very scant. When you go, if scant's the right word, when you go to research it. So
they've done a lot. They've done an extreme amount of testing at that lake to see if there's anything there. The only thing that they did see, which is actually true about the lake underground, is that there are an expanse of underground tunnels. That are and it's not like a small amount of tunnels. Like there's actually a fuck ton of these tunnels, and some of them are big, some of them are really small, but there are a lot of them, and they haven't been able to go through every one of the tunnels.
And it makes you wonder if a plesiosaur, did somehow survive or something like it, right? And then it would go into the lock. What would be the purpose of going into the lock if it was connected to the ocean that we just haven't made that connection to see?
Well, I mean, the only idea that
it's a stretch.
Well, the only thing that would make sense to me in that case is if for some reason it got kind of swept a little bit from the ocean, and it may have been pregnant or something like that. It would have seen a body of water that didn't have any predators in it, that had a lot of places to hide and places to go lay their eggs, so they wouldn't be bothered by anything. And that would be the only thing I could imagine in my head.
Yeah,
why?
But it wouldn't just be one. I mean, you'd have to have mating pairs, and then you'd have to think about the amount of food that it would.
Well, it could have been one. Well, it might have just been one that was pregnant.
Yeah, but if it was pregnant and it just had babies, there would still be however many were born. Is there enough food for
maybe
this?
Maybe it's a very severely disabled plesiosaur.
I've never spent the time.
Yeah, but maybe it's a magical unicorn within inside a plesiosaur that's fucking
No.
controlling.
I mean, hey man, incest is possible.
I never looked up actually into Loch Ness to see what kind of fish and other stuff would, actually inhabit the lake, to see if that's possible. Other people theorized that it was actually just a big sturgeon or something, that it could have been local. But yeah, that was one that kind of like I had looked at for a little while, and then just like the more I had read about it, the more it was not very.
There's two of the cryptids
Have you
I
also
like
thought about
the most.
how much booze Scottish people drink? Like, is there like a relation there to the amount of alcohol that a group of people drinks to the cryptids that they see, right? So you can see like things like Bigfoot in like northern areas where people have got nothing to do but pound fucking beers all day.
Well, see, the fun thing about this,
Jack.
there's two cryptids specifically that I think are really cool to think about. Is it Gigantopithecus as Bigfoot is super fun. Like, it's a really good one to look into. Gigantopithecus is big enough, smart enough, and strong enough to have survived this long if it had enough mating pairs.
And that's part of what I tried to talk about, a couple months ago when I did the show, is not a lot had to happen in order for that to actually be a reality. Now, the statistical probability of it happening is not very high, right? But
for sure.
It's not, then there's the whole thing of like lights, in the woods, and the paranormal aspect that goes into Bigfoot and Sasquatch and stuff like that. But if they survived the Ice Age and survived, like, Homo sapiens trying to kill every other species for competition, and they were smart enough to know, obviously how to survive with food and whatnot, but to realize that they just needed to stay away from us. Like, their very survival depended on
not being seen by us in any fucking
by us. Yes. Yeah. And like, most of the time, if you believe any of the into the thousands of reports and whatnot, if you believe any of them, that the sightings are like by mistake, because of course everyone that goes to look for something like that never finds anything. I'll give them that. So
there's never been like it doesn't matter like how expansive like a Bigfoot hunt that's ever come up conclusive with anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of the whole point, though, right? So if we're talking about something that survived the Ice Age, you have a big enough population that would have initially been here, but then as humans expanded, it moved here and it moved here.
What if they live underground?
So we would have some sort of like, evidence, right? So like we can find dinosaur bones, but we can't find bones or like other like.
They're smart enough to pick up the bones of their dead.
And they're picking their teeth with those bones.
No. They take them into a special burial place inside of their cave deep beneath the earth.
Yeah, but then that group of like they would have moved over. So the Ice Age was what, 30,000 years ago? Like,
yeah, they went underground. That's how they survived.
15 or 30, something like that.
I mean, like it's just so fantastical. Like
you think a monkey going into a cave is fantastical?
Here's something.
No, for it to have survived and for there to be no evidence of it for this amount of time, yeah, that's pretty fantastical. Like if we're getting to the point where you're saying, okay, well, what happened is that they picked up the bones of all their deceased and they moved them all to this special place. Well, where's this special place? Wouldn't that place have moved over time? And when they did have to move their camp, did they like go and then pick up all the bones of their ancestors for the past 2,000
No, see, the thing is they use the bones of their ancestors as tools ad infinitum. So, like, up until the fact that they were dust that you could never distinguish from the sand, They use those tools.
Would both of them?
That's pretty fantastical.
Would you
I
say?
disagree. I disagree.
Would you say that if you had the theory, if you were entertaining it, that they did in fact bury their dead? That part of the issue there, though, too, is because, like you said, Scott, with dinosaur bones, that even if bodies are buried, at some point, some of them would come to the surface.
Well,
not all of them.
Not come to the surface. More along the lines of like when we moved into those areas and started excavating to like lay down like sewer systems, you would have run into like bones, right? So this is something that happens all the time, like when people are going and setting up like systems that a city's going to use. They dig down and like they find evidence, right? So it's not like they come to the surface, it's that we dig down and then all of a sudden we find evidence of these buried bodies, right? Like when we find mass graves, it's not like the mass graves just like percolate to the surface of the earth. It's because we were
that's true.
digging down and we found it, right? And then it's like holy shit, like there's a shitload of dead fucking people here.
Yeah. There's actually a guy who his name's Dr. Jeff Meldrum. He's at Idaho State University, who collects the supposed footprints that you find throughout North America. And so that one, and also the number of sightings that have occurred or been recorded the last like 150 years, at least by white civilization, not to mention Native Americans. That's kind of that makes me raise an eyebrow, where it is possible that there's mass hallucination by the given population that goes and thinks they see things out in the woods and whatnot, mistakes them for black bears, all the other things that could have occurred, and yet there's enough of it that it's kept me curious for a very long time.
So
what are you going to say?
What if it's not mass hallucination, right? So like let's look at like aliens, right? Before, like in the 1950s or 60s or something, I think like the notion of the gray man came about, and then from that point forward, all like depictions of aliens became the gray man. But when you go back before that, they weren't that. It wasn't the same thing, right? So there was like this collective notion of what an alien is, and at a certain point it says, oh well, here's what an alien here's what we're saying an alien is now, and then like people make all sorts of reasons like okay, yeah, that makes sense because the gray man, these are beings that left whatever planet they were on. They were in a lighter gravity, so then they developed larger brains in smaller bodies, right? So like we can make every reason in the world for it to make sense. Doesn't mean it actually makes sense, right?
I would disagree on the notion, like I said before, that if you were talking about a couple dozen encounters and you were talking about clearly groups of people that were.
I do have a question for you though. When you say a couple dozen by how many people? So like a couple dozen and 100,000 people. So if we push that up to 1,000,000 people, that'd be 1,200 sightings.
I don't know the exact number over the recorded history of like 150 years, because this is not just a phenomena in quote unquote white Canadian or United States culture. It also goes through the Native Americans.
Exactly. But then like we do recognize like. So when Europeans came to the United States, like we actually did pick up a lot of the traditions that Native Americans had already, right? So like we took from the knowledge that they had and we incorporated that to our own societies, right? So this is like to me this is just normal. People talk about like cultural appropriation. That's not the way the world works. The way the world works is right now, if you go to Japan, if you go to Korea, everybody's wearing jeans. If you went back 200 years ago, how many of those people were wearing jeans? None of them, right? Because like jeans were something that was created in the European world, specifically like Levi Strauss. Once like people were like doing like heavy mining and stuff, it made sense to have some sort of like durable pant, right? But then these things percolate throughout the entire culture of of Earth. So like when I see these things and say, look, oh well, it's Native Americans, yeah, because Native Americans had ideas of Sasquatch and uh,
for
uh,
a very long time.
yeah, absolutely. But they also had, it's the same thing with like, Egyptians had notions of like people with like heads of lions and heads of eagles, but like that's it now that's so far gone, like nobody like thinks that's a thing anymore, right?
Yeah,
But there's
I get.
always going to be something else, something new that comes along that people are going to be like, well, there maybe that's the case. But if
I
it's not
guess
reproducible,
I guess I don't. I guess I just don't have the level of faith that you guys do in our modern technology, to have scoped every inch of the earth to say that, this is basically an impossibility that it exists. Like I said, I've never seen one,
oh,
and I don't claim
oh,
ontologically that I do. But with the amount of sightings over the given century or two, I would also have a hard time not alleviating. That's not the right word. I would leaving it to simple, like, people. I think, aren't you saying it's going back to a mass hypnosis because people who have claimed to seen it are
no,
just
no, no.
misidentifying, or
No, it's like to me, I see it as like the stories we tell ourselves, right? So like I don't think there's any evidence of God, but yet still plenty of people believe in God, right? Because it's the story we tell ourselves to like make sense of something that's going on, right? And to me, I just see it as the exact same thing. It's like we're human beings are really good at coming up with stories to explain things that we don't understand. And to me, like that's easy. And I'm not saying 100% it's impossible. I'm saying the probability is so low that to believe it just doesn't make sense for me personally, right? It's like I could say the
so
probability of me like winning the lottery is so low that I don't go out and like think I'm going to win the lottery every time I buy a lottery ticket.
so to, to any person who has seen one, and if they were to tell you about the experience, would your initial impression be the person was either on drugs, they're seeking fame, or they're flat out making out a fantasy to live out their, like
No,
their
no,
belief of the.
no,
Okay,
no,
well,
no. I would think that person actually thought it. I would think what they thought was incorrect, but I wouldn't think they were like doing this for attention. They were doing it for this, that, and the other. I would think like, yeah, this person actually thinks this. Do I think that's true? No. Same way I do with like Christians. Like a Christian will be like, hey, this is what I actually believe. Do I actually believe what you're saying? No, I don't.
gotcha. Okay, I don't want to push it any further if we want to,
Yeah.
go on to other topics or whatnot, because we're at somewhat of an impasse. But yeah, I enjoy talking about it regardless, just because I think it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
interesting
Me too.
topic, and it's whether it's folk tales, mythology, or anything around that realm, I enjoy
Yeah.
talking about them with different portions around the world.
So me, Brett, like where I fall, where I fall on that is with like sci-fi. To me, sci-fi is my jam. Like it's less about mythology and more about sci-fi, because like I've always liked the notion or the idea of like a conspiracy theory, like of of aliens. What we think are aliens are not actually aliens. It's just us who figured out how to time travel, and we're coming back in time to try to like solve some problem that we have in the future. So we got to come back now and like abduct people and like butt probe them for some reason to like figure out how to like, you know, stop something bad in the future.
Well, you know, the good news about Bigfoot is most of the time people encounter it, they never get butt probed. So that's good one benefit. If you're going to see Bigfoot or alien, your odds of getting anally probed are probably less with Bigfoot. So there's that.
Probably. So, is it if anybody listening, is it
that was so good, Brad.
has a conspiracy that they enjoy or that irks them about you know, the way that it is, or that
Do I know
I encourage you guys to call in and talk about it. Is it also, this is the Pangburn Hangout. Every single day we have a show. The show is completely you know, done by one of our amazing hosts. The show content varies day to day. It's very beautiful. There's a pretty much good amalgamation of like every kind of thought process you'd like to get a hold of. So that's very nice.
I do want to say Trav posted in the chat, Bigfoot probed me. He had a Harley Davidson. I think that guy's name was actually just Tiny. You should probably go get an STD.
I agree as well with that. So we also have a Discord where we can talk. If somebody wants to post a Discord link, if you go into the Discord there, you can join us and talk about whatever you'd like at any time that anybody's in the voice chats, or hit us in one of the text tabs about that we have like 50 or 60 of them about different stuff. As it goes to conspiracies, one of the ones that getting a little slightly ethereal here is I think that President Kennedy was probably killed due to the fact that he was trying to get rid of the hold that the National Bank had on America, and him trying to move back to a silver-based currency, or a silver gold-based currency that really have thrown off the World Bank. And I think that that's why he was killed. He had enough support and pull to be able to do that because people loved him, and it would have led to the downfall of the banking system at the time. And then they pretty much got him shot. At least that's what I'm pretty positive about there.
Well, I've heard the thing about like Kennedy was like everybody knows or should know about like Papa Joe, right? So Papa Joe was a rum runner, and the Kennedys were famously associated with organized crime. And Kennedy, when he came in, he came in on an idea of cracking down on organized crime. And then he got killed.
See, I think that the organized crime that partially is in this case because of the way that those policies were going out. The interesting thing is that if you go to the national, archives.gov research JFK Select Committee report, C document the very biggest findings is the committee believes on the basis of evidence available to it that President John F. Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. The committee is unable to identify the other gunmen or the extent of the conspiracy. So apparently there are two gunmen, and they're admitting that, and they don't know how far the conspiracy goes.
That was going to be my question just now. Is like, it doesn't seem in any way to me to be a conspiracy that he was shot by two different people. I feel like the narrative of one gunman was just shoved down the media's throats to say to the people, like, there was one shooter, we got him. If you say anything else, you're lying, you're full of crap, whatever. And they believed that for the longest time. You know, media gets into culture, and then people are afraid to ask questions and whatnot. But it seems when you watch the footage and if you actually read the autopsy report and stuff like that, it just seems like it's a given that there were two shooters. Or is that just...
when
What do you
also
think?
I guess the thing is like conspiracies are real, right? There's like anything that we know is like an actual conspiracy. Like you can look at like uh Guy Fawkes and the gunpowder plot. That was an actual conspiracy, and we have evidence from it, and we can say that it was a conspiracy. There are laws in the books that say, hey, if you're doing this, you're taking part in a conspiracy, right? A conspiracy is by definition just like planning something. um Hold on, let me actually look it up. Definition: a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful, right? So the legal definition, that's what a conspiracy is it's a plan by a secret group. These kind of things obviously take place all the time. I do think when people say conspiracy theory, they're typically referring to things like cryptids or like a fake moon landing or something like that. You know, I mean, like the John F. Kennedy thing. Obviously, there was a conspiracy there. That doesn't mean people have the answers. Like, who is the guy that made the movie Stone? The director.
I couldn't tell you actually. I don't know.
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone, yeah. Like so like what happens is like he adds like a bunch of like, you know, artistic interpretation to it, and then people take that seriously, and then that's when it becomes like a conspiracy theory, in my opinion, where it's you're adding this information to like make sense of something that you don't understand. And that's why I always like bring like, you know, like Christianity into it, because you're still just like making an explanation for something you don't understand.
I see what you're saying there.
I got a question on another topic, but I don't want to change it if we want to keep on this.
Oh, no,
Listen,
sure.
this I don't. Unfortunately, just like as this conspiracy is, and this is kind of Scott said, is like it's known as a conspiracy, and there's just not a lot of information to go off on. Otherwise, somebody would have got at it already. So you can go ahead and change the subject there.
Yeah, which doesn't do well for the government side of just saying that this was a crazy guy doing it. If how much they have not released about this.
Well, well, they have a, like I said, this is like the what I quoted was the archives.gov of the research of the JIC. Like it's a government website. The finding they 100% believe that there is a conspiracy. There was a conspiracy. They know for a fact that there was two gunmen, but they don't know how deep the conspiracy went.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah, you said that. My bad. I've had a long day.
No worries.
My question would be, not that I want to talk about this forever because it kind of makes my head hurt, but on vaccines, I heard a couple of people a few weeks ago talk about not just, COVID and other ones, but also some stuff about like the polio vaccine and whatnot. And, I really never, when I looked at the resources I could over the short time I had the last couple of weeks, I did not find anything that I thought was credible that debunked the polio vaccine.
What do you mean debunked the polio vaccine? Like, give me what do you mean by that?
So it was a while ago when I heard this, but basically the idea is that all vaccines, to some degree, whether they're for like population control or, the modern vaccines, like whatever they're made up of, that they're somehow mostly more harmful than good, for people.
Yeah.
And in particular, when I brought up the polio vaccine, which I've been raised to believe was absolutely necessary. If you look at our grandparents' generation, one of their main vaccines was the polio vaccine, because when you got polio, it was only a matter of time before you were dead.
See,
and so yeah,
if you don't mind me, jump in real quick.
Yeah.
The thing that really gets me about the polio vaccine versus the vaccines that we've seen, or things called vaccines since then, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't those things are vaccines, especially by definition. And I'm not going to try and be like they're not vaccines, right? But is it a? I don't. In a modern day culture where we have access to the polio vaccine in any way, shape, or form, there is no polio. Like,
Oh,
There's
and
polio
Go
is
ahead.
actually coming back. Like there have been people who have
Yeah.
been getting polio because their fucking genius parents are like, no, we're not going to vaccine our kids. And
okay,
So-
but okay. Regardless, is what the point of what I'm saying is that when you're using the polio vaccine,
Mhm.
it's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The difference is that in every vaccine since then, when they're called vaccines, they don't actually get rid of anything.
Right.
No,
They're
no,
supposed to
That's
protect you against them.
hold
Or
on. Hold on. The idea of any vaccine is what they do is it trains your body, it trains your white cells to be able to attack like whatever thing is coming in, right? So like
Sure.
polio was a good vaccine. Smallpox was a more important vaccine because smallpox actually fucking killed you real fucking quick, right?
Yeah.
You know, like the smallpox vaccine was a fucking game changer.
Right. What I'm saying, but again, the thing is if you take the smallpox vaccine, if you take it after dealing with the effects of the vaccine, right then you never get it. It doesn't happen again.
Yeah, but because what it does, I mean, like with polio and smallpox vaccines, what they do is they basically inject you with like a half dead version of that
Yeah.
virus,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think Scott, I think what Jack's trying to get at, and Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the more modern vaccines don't really they're not as effective in that way. They're more like if you were to get the given disease, it's less severe. Is that the idea, Jack? Or
It's more like along the lines of like we call when we call something like in my mind, and I know this isn't true like medically and stuff like that. I'm not trying to make a claim that this is true in any other way than just the way that I'm describing it. I just want to get that clear. But in my mind, when you have a polio vaccine and a smallpox vaccine, and you have these things that after dealing with the vaccine, you don't get the disease unless your immune system is just entirely trashed.
Yeah.
Is it when you do things nowadays like the flu vaccine or the flu shot is a vaccine technically, but we've all for some reason come together and be like, well, the flu can't be totally vaccine against
Yes.
because it rapidly changes.
mutations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now, in
same
my
as-
mind, if we're gonna, in my mind, I know that, again, this isn't the medical definitions or anything like that. I think that we should split what we call a vaccine to something that can completely destroy something to something else that can push off the effects. I think that needs to be changed because if you have something like if you have the polio, nobody had polio who took the polio vaccine, afterwards.
Mhm.
That didn't
Yeah.
happen as you continued on. But if you didn't take it, obviously, you got to wear around it. You got fucking polio again. But when it comes to the flu and you call that a vaccine, or COVID and you call that a vaccine, it just waves off this, oh, this makes it easier on you for the next time. That to me isn't what should be called a vaccine, even though I know it is medically and all that other good stuff. Again, just want to preface, I'm not unaware that that's how its terminology is.
Yeah, so I do think what happens though is like the reason why like people now are getting polio now that like parents are not giving their kids vaccines, it's not like that vaccine like eliminated polio. It just prevented your body from having the deleterious effects of having polio.
No, that's what. Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I'm talking about when it says we got
still-
rid of polio when you had it. But
Yeah,
the thing
yeah,
is that
yeah,
modern things they call vaccines, Scott, they don't do that. That's the difference.
Well, it depends. Like MMR, like measles, mumps, rubella, they do. Like the only thing I can really think of is like the flu vaccine and
Yep.
the COVID
Yeah,
vaccine,
COVID.
Yeah.
which is a type of flu, right? I mean, it's the same thing. It's a highly
Right,
mutatable
but I don't think
virus.
calling it a vaccine in the wake of other things being called vaccines and doing things that in that way, completely getting rid of something versus combating something better, I think is just two different things that I think maybe need to be separately categorized.
It's actually a good point because I think that that's a lot of the hoopla that those who are so vehemently against the COVID vaccine and whatnot have said that, like, this isn't a cure and your body could fight it off naturally and etc. Blah blah blah. And for most people, it's not as deadly as something as like the other diseases, which does have some truth to it. But I wish the delusion of oh, you can't die from it would die itself because
It's,
I've known a few people that have
Dude, well,
did not take the vaccine and then boom, they're gone.
No.
that's the thing. If you
Did
have a smallpox vaccine, you're not going to get smallpox and die, unless you had like a highly concentrated amount of like smallpox injected into you. Like you're still gonna fucking die, right? Like
Yeah,
your body would not be able to overcome it.
yeah.
I guess that's the differentiation of like how things are transmitted. I mean, they just so many different levels to like what's actually going on, how it reproduces, how it's transmitted, how your body reacts to it, how it mutates. Yeah, I mean it's all a shit show. I agree with you, Jack. Well, 100%. It's
Yeah,
all a shit.
that's what I'm saying. I just want it to be. I just want that those two things to be. Maybe we can continue to call the new stuff a vaccine, and we change the name of the old stuff. I don't really care how that ends up working out. I just want there to be a difference between something that, when introduced into somebody, it gives them the ability to completely fight the virus,
Hmm.
versus something that gives you the ability to help fight the virus. I
I've,
want
I've,
those two
I've got a
things to
word.
be different.
I've got a word for you. So this is the word that they used to use is inoculation. So like a smallpox smallpox inoculation, right? So that's gonna like prevent you from getting smallpox and all
Right,
sorts of
sure.
different
Yeah,
things.
let's
Right.
call all the old shit inoculation, and then we can call the new shit vaccines, and then I'm okay with being like, well, I prefer when things are inoculated versus vaccine, and then like we could go off of those definitions, and I think that would make that would make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, words matter.
That's you heard that here first, all 20 people that are here. Words matter. Does anybody want to call in? You are able to call in about any conspiracy that you have at all. We'll talk about it. We'll go over and see if it's like feasible in any kind of way, or we'll see if you're just completely off the deep end. But we're gonna love you anyway.
But
Is
I think Mace has like a conspiracy where he thinks like vaccines give you a small dick, and his parents just like gave him so many vaccines as a kid. He just like angry at the world.
Oh, I mean, that kind of goes along with his cherub type, frame and face, like, you know what I mean, like it completes it all. He's got the pale, snowy, glowing white skin. He's got the Goldilocks, and then the really small peep because of all the vaccines. That makes sense to me.
Mace, I'm totally goading you to call in right now. Call in, buddy.
I've been pretty exhausted with teaching. I wanted to say hi for a little bit tonight, but I got to take off. Y'all are great, and good talking to you.
You have a great one too, Brett. Be safe. Have a great night. Have fun teaching. Be a fun teacher, please. You know, here's a controversial thing. Teachers should be fucking fun. I think we should pay them more, and they should be fun.
How fun.
I think they need to be fun enough to like make people interested in fucking learning. There's been a few teachers that I've had that were really good at fucking making me like pay attention because of how they presented their material. And there's been a bunch of other teachers that just sat there and fucking looked at the board. I think that they need to up the teachers' pay so that we get more people that want to actually give a fuck about teaching. Hakeem, how you doing today, Hakeem?
Hakeem.
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Welcome to my conspiracy corner. Do you have any conspiracies that you enjoy thinking about or that irk you and that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I have one that I enjoy thinking about,
Okay.
which is that that some Earthlings have found some very virulent bacteria on Mars, and they're setting up bases on the moon right now so that they can study them and not bring them back to Earth, lest they destroy the entire population of humanity and take over.
Is that a conspiracy, or can we find just some evidence that that's going on?
I mean, we can find evidence, but I mean, they're building laser satellite arrays, infrared laser arrays on the moon. They have a solar station that they're setting up.
As far as I can tell, a moon base has been on NASA's to-do list for a long time.
But is it a moon base to study?
Yeah, but
that could be. Well, I mean, it might be. It could be. I mean, the cool thing about a moon base is that everything you study there is under the effect of microgravity.
We find some sort of weird fucking bacteria out there,
it's an entirely different way of studying literally everything,
let's
let
do some
alone
shit
just
there.
bacteria. So that'd be really interesting.
That's fucking awesome.
The cool thing is, I think not only should we build a moon base, we should probably build a moon spaceport or a orbital spaceport that we can build ships at, so that we can save millions of dollars in fuel.
Hey guys, I'm at work at the door here, and I'm just dealing with Latin dance night.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, but this, they were looking back at this bacterium called Deinococcus radiodurans, also known as Conan the bacterium, and they're looking at it because they found it in some lake in California, and they found that it can survive a few minutes on the surface of Mars, and then if they bury it with like 10 centimeters of soil, its lifespan goes up a few million years, and then if they put it 10 meters down, its lifespan goes to 280 million years. So they don't want to bring any shit like that back here. And but they're doing a work to figure out how to stop what's called forward contamination, us bringing something there, and backward contamination, bringing something back to Earth. So yeah, somebody just said a way station, right? Like, but now the deeper conspiracy that irks me related to that is that that bacterium was put there for us to discover, to bring it back to Earth, to wipe out humanity, and it doesn't matter if we bring it to the moon or not, because the way that the planet is going right now, with all of the environmental degradation and all these things like that, our planet is actually being terraformed for another species to come here and live, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense, all the shit that's allowed to happen on the Earth.
I'm just gonna take this to a truck.
Yes, ma'am, you can take whatever you want.
Are you saying allowed to happen? And when you mean that, do you mean like the destruction of our natural environment, or what?
Yes, because it's becoming very inhospitable to humans. And yes, people talk about climate change and all this, but what if it's really a plot to slowly change the climate to accommodate another species that wants to be here, and instead of them taking over by force, with laser rays and all that stuff, they are slowly terraforming it for their own means. Maybe they enjoy more carbon dioxide in the environment, and a little bit more heat, less ice.
I mean, that would be really interesting. I actually can. That's a possible thing I like, especially in sci-fi technology that I've seen before in like games and shows and stuff like that. That could be a possibility. So that's definitely a little interesting. Is it, the only thing that what are the type of beings do you think that could survive here at an extreme amount of carbon dioxide and heat?
Good question. I'm not sure of anyone's particular, but there are creatures on Earth that are called extremophiles that share similar qualities. So survive near hydrothermal vents and breathe methane and shit like that, and other ones that have high amounts of manganese that allow them to withstand solar radiation and other things like that. So the more you degrade the ozone layer and let in that kind of radiation more quickly and fill up the skies.
Why? I've got a question. Why?
Yeah.
Would aliens in this case pick a planet where they have where there is sentient life that may be capable within their long amount of time of terraforming detect them, whereas they could go to a Mars or Venus planet, Venus being a twin, and just have absolutely 100% zero resistance while also enjoying an incredibly high heat dense and gaseous dense planet with minor terraforming?
Because they require our corpses decay in order to make it more delicious for them to live here. They want
delicious in the sense that they eat our corpses.
Delicious in the sense that the decay of our corpses and the integration with such said corpses into the earth makes it more hospitable for them. There's something about the human body that they require also in the environment.
Well, I'd have to. I mean, what kind of animal grows off of human death, and maybe we can try and extrapolate an alien here.
There are several creatures that feed off of decay, and
do you think that they could be fungoid?
Well, they may be more plant-like than not, because of course.
I think that if there's aliens around, they're probably fungoid.
Right, because plants are the type of creatures that require carbon dioxide and things like that, and large amounts of solar radiation and a form of high frequency and ionizing radiation in order to complete some of their metabolic and cellular processes.
And it goes to show us that there's a lot of versions of fungoids that can not only hurt but help humans. There's a chance that these spores are aliens here that have landed with a variety of effects from like a variety of different species of these fungoids.
Could be. Also, have you guys ever heard about the destruction of a planet that was between Mars and Jupiter?
Planet X?
IDs, please. The one that supposedly was exploded by a scalar resonance weapon. What the fuck are you doing with this ID? You know I know this guy, right?
Yeah, I know.
So why are you giving me his ID?
That's my homework.
Yeah, well, you $20 for me to have this place shut down? Bye. Don't fuck with me, man. It's not cool. All right. If he would have come up with a better attitude, I would have let him in. All right. Sorry about that, guys.
But, so you knew the guy that he gave him his ID for?
Yeah, he gave me a guy's ID that I know.
What a dummy.
That is the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
That sounds pretty dumb. Well, was it?
Oh my God, like that.
With these aliens here, do you think that they have? So why do you think that they wouldn't try to work with humanity?
Because of people's fear, because there's too many religious people on the planet, and there'll be too much backlash for them because they would be pushing back against it, somehow talking about that they're demons and shit. So they don't want to deal with all that religious stuff because they've already tried to have conferences and meet humans, and all people do is make up stories about being abducted and probed in their buttholes and all kinds of stuff like that. So they're not going to deal with. They'll deal with people once we're weakened.
Well, I appreciate your input. As it is right now, I actually have to get ready to get going.
All right.
So I thank you.
Thank you guys for
for
letting me play
joining up
around
and
here.
talking. That was an amazing conversation. I appreciate your presence today. Was it
Appreciate
Scott and
you letting
everybody
me.
else that was here, and all of the listeners that down below? I thank you very much for your time today. Please join the Pangburn Hangout. I am a little buzzed. It is an amazing place. Every single day we have different shows. Different people host those shows. The different ideals coming from an incredibly diverse amount of places and a diverse amount of thought. Was it also our Discord that should be linked in the chat here pretty soon? Was it will be available for all of you? Please come and join us and talk about all of your views, all of the things that you'd like to talk about and discuss and debate and think about. And if you don't have any time to get into the voice tabs, there's a bunch of text tabs that you can get into. Please join us there. Thank you very much. Thanks, Scott, again. Excuse me. Thank you for our listeners.